Tuesday, Thursday, 15th, 16th and the 17th of July. On Lost in Love. #ThrillSeries. Teju playfully asks Neil what he wished for, but Neil reminds her that wishes won't come true if spoken aloud. She persists, but Mukta interjects, telling Neil he doesn't need to share. Later, Teju's family gathers for dinner. Mukta remarks that Mohit should have invited Neil, but Mohit explains that he already did. Neil declined because he had to attend a medical camp. A waiter checks on them, and Teju compliments the food before deciding to take a walk. As she strolls, Teju hears live music and asks a waiter about it. He informs her that the music is coming from a nearby tribal group performing behind the hotel. Curious, Teju follows the sound. Meanwhile, Mohit and Mukta hear loud tribal shouts. Alarmed, they ask the waiter about it. He explains that the tribal people shout to scare away tigers. Realizing Teju might be in danger, Mohit and Mukta begin searching for her. They ask the staff if anyone has seen her, and a waiter confirms that she went toward the tribal area. Their worry deepens. At that moment, Neil calls Mohit to check in. Mohit urgently tells him about Teju wandering into the tribal area and asks for his help. Without hesitation, Neil rushes into the jungle to find her. Teju soon comes face to face with a tiger. Just as fear grips her, Neil arrives. She immediately clings to him. Thinking quickly, Neil gathers dry leaves and uses 2 rocks to start a fire. The flames frighten the tiger, which retreats. Once the danger passes, Neil leads Teju away. With no network signal, Neil is unable to call Mohit. Teju, still shaken, asks why he risked his life for her. Neil simply replies that Mohit asked him to find her. She insists that he still put himself in danger for her. Back at the hotel, Teju reunites with her family. Mohit scolds her for ignoring the waiter's warning about the jungle. Feeling guilty, Teju apologizes to Mohit and Mukta and recounts how Neil saved her. Mohit, grateful, thanks Neil for his bravery. Mohit tells Neil that he doesn't know how he will ever repay the debt of gratitude. Neil asks him not to speak like that and jokes about the situation. Mohit then leaves. Teju thanks Neil for saving her and expresses her difficulty in showing gratitude. Neil tells her that a smile would be enough. At that moment, a dandelion flower falls on both Teju and Mohit's shoulders. A waiter shares a local saying that if a dandelion falls on someone's shoulder, they will marry soon. Later, the waiter gifts Neil and Teju a statue of Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati. Neil asks Teju to keep the statue, and she agrees. Suddenly, Mohit clutches his chest in pain, causing concern for his family. Teju asks Neil to fetch a doctor. Neil tells Mohit to rest and assures the family that he will return with a doctor before leaving. As Mohit lies in bed, feeling suffocated, Neil arrives and examines him with a stethoscope. Teju is shocked and questions Neil, reminding him that he is not a doctor. Neil calmly gives Mohit medicine, assuring him that it will help. Teju and Mukta try to stop him, but Neil firmly insists that Mohit needs it. After taking the medicine, Mohit begins to feel better. Teju scolds Neil for giving Mohit the medicine, threatening not to forgive him if anything happens. She then asks Mohit if he is okay. Neil writes a prescription for Mohit. Teju notices the paper and sees the name, Neil Pradhan, MD, written on it. Stunned, she asks Neil if he is a doctor. Neil confirms it, explaining that he never lied. Teju had simply assumed he was a driver. Mohit thanks Neil for his help, and Mukta and Vedant also express their gratitude. Neil then leaves. Meanwhile, Aditi wakes up from a nightmare, visibly shaken. Juhi and Prajakta rush to her, asking what happened. Aditi explains her troubling dream, but Lakshmi dismisses it and tells her to go back to sleep. However, Aditi insists on calling Mohit to check if he's okay. Aditi calls Mohit, and Mukta and Teju notice the late-night call. They ask Mohit who is calling him at this hour. When he sees Aditi's name on the screen, Mohit looks worried. Late at night, Teju notices Mohit receiving a call and asks who it is. Mohit replies that it's urgent and tells her to go to sleep. Answering the call, Mohit hears Aditi's concerned voice. She tells him she had a terrible dream. She saw him struggling with chest pain in his sleep. Surprised, Mohit feels a deep connection with her, believing that Aditi can sense his emotions even from afar. He reassures her that he's fine and asks her not to worry. Aditi relaxes and teasingly reminds him that she'll be waiting for him. Later, Teju and Mukta question Mohit about the late-night call. Not wanting to reveal the truth, he lies, saying that Juhi had a bad dream about him. Teju finds it a strange coincidence. Mohit actually had chest pain earlier, and Juhi dreamt about it. She expresses a desire to meet his family one day. Mukta, on the other hand, sadly recalls how Mohit's family never accepted her. Mohit asks her not to overthink it, though guilt weighs on him. He knows he can't keep hiding the truth about Aditi forever and decides he will confess everything in time. The next morning, as Mohit, Mukta, and Vedant sit down for breakfast, Neil arrives and warmly greets them. He checks on Mohit's health, to which Mohit assures him he's fine. Mukta thanks Neil for his help the previous day and is surprised to learn he's a doctor. Neil humbly dismisses it, saying that helping others is what truly gives life meaning. Impressed, Mohit praises Neil and hands him a 100 rupees note from his first salary as a token of blessing. Later, Neil inquires about Teju, and Mukta directs him to where she is. Meanwhile, Teju calls Rituraj to tell him about Mohit's chest pain, hoping he'll show concern. However, Rituraj, caught up in his struggles in the music industry, brushes her off, saying he's rehearsing and will call her later. As he hangs up, Teju realizes that he only calls her when it suits him, leaving her feeling unimportant. As Teju walks outside, Neil notices an aparajita flower resting on her shoulder. The sight mesmerizes him for a moment before he regains focus and approaches her. Teju, feeling guilty for her past behavior, apologizes for being rude to him when he was only trying to help. Neil acknowledges it with a light comment before politely taking his leave, leaving Teju with lingering thoughts.